This is the Doug Stewart Show, and I'm your boy, Doug Stewart. Thank you for joining me. Coming to you live all over this world. The Doug Stewart Show, where we talk about sports, pop culture, entertainment, hip-hop culture. I guess technically all of those are the same things, but you get my point. We're going to hit it all on this show, and we have been hitting it all on this show, man. I appreciate the love. Continue to tell people about it, pass the word. I haven't done one in a while. The reason why is not a lot of big stories. And when I kind of started this show, my focus was going to be on big stories, tantalizing stories, titillating stories, all those words that describe something fantastic and noteworthy, something you're going to talk about at the water cooler on Monday morning at your job in the world of sports and entertainment. So there hadn't been a lot of those things going on over the last couple of weeks, so I decided to create something, and it's good. It's something that is very interesting, that interests me at least, and that's the ESPN 30 for 30 series, and they just did one this past week, which was very good. I thought it was very good, and it was concerning the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys. Now, I grew up in the 70s for the most part, my real young years, my youth. And then in the 80s, my more formative years with teenagers and late teens and getting into my 20s. So this is right up my alley with the bad boys, talking about the Pistons of the late 80s, a team that did some fantastic things. Now I'm going to tell you or discuss with you 5 things that jump out at me, that strike me, that struck a chord with me when watching this series. By the way, 30 for 30, classic, great TV, fantastic production, and ESPN's won a ton of awards for it, and I understand why, because it is a fantastic series, and they basically go and delve into a topic in sports and really get into it. But 5 things that jumped out at me concerning the Detroit Pistons that I took from this 30 for 30 is number 1, actually number 5. Let's go in descending order. But Jack McCloskey, the GM for the Detroit Pistons, and the fantastic job that he did in building that organization. They said it took him 10 years and 38 trades or 38 transactions to put together this team that won 2 championships in the late 80s. You're talking about guys like Dennis Rodman from Southeast Oklahoma State, Bill Laimbeer in the trade, Rick Mahorn, drafted him out of Hampton University, small HBCU in Virginia. James Edwards was by a trade. Joe Dumars out of McNeese State. Just a fantastic job of GMing, okay? And you wish that more teams, GMs, could get it and make things happen the way that Jack McCloskey did. That was a huge part of this episode. They talked about what it took for him to turn around that organization, okay, in a tough city like Detroit. Number 4 was the Pistons actually overcoming the Celtics. And what happens a lot of times in sports, you take baby steps and you gradually build up to where you win a championship. It usually doesn't happen where a team just overnight wins a championship. You really don't see a lot of St. Louis Rams situations like with Kurt Warner, where a team comes from worst to first and wins it all. It's usually a gradual process. And in this case, it took them a couple of years to get past the Boston Celtics, and they actually did it. Then it took them another year to win the championship against the Lakers, and they finally got it done. So it was a gradual process, and then later on, you saw the same things from the Chicago Bulls and finally getting past their nemesis, the Detroit Pistons. So that kind of struck a chord with me as well. Number 3, could today's players play in the NBA back in the 80s? And I give you a definitive no, okay? It's just a different game today, and I think David Stern, that was his whole goal, is to make it a more free-flowing game. Back then, man, you had to be damn near a brute to play in the NBA. I'm serious. I don't think young people could even understand unless they were to see it. But you're talking about, the Pistons, the bad boys. They just wouldn't let you make layups. They called them the Jordan rules, okay? They weren't going to let Michael Jordan just drive down the lane and get layups on them and dunk on them. That just wasn't going to happen back then. Much different now. Guys go to the basket. LeBron James, a lot of times, is unimpeded as he makes a layup. It's just a different game, and I think I liked the game back then a little bit more because you had to earn it. If you won a championship in the 80s, you damn sure earned it. You earned it, okay? And I think it's a little bit different today, but You had teams like the Portland Trailblazers had a bunch of tough guys, Buck Williams, Jerome Kersey, Cliff Robinson even a little bit later. They had a tough team. You know about the Knicks and the rivalries and the battles that they had with the Miami Heat when Alonzo Mourning was down there. Even taking it back to Alonzo when he was with the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, him and Larry Johnson, Grandmama, they played a tough, physical brand of basketball back in the earlys. The second thing, the number 2 thing that jumped out at me was Bill Laimbeer may have been the dirtiest person in sports history. Once again, not in basketball history, the entire history of sports. Bill Laimbeer may have been the dirtiest guy to ever play the game. He absolutely they showed one part of this. If you've seen it, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, where they actually had the sound up near the court. And Bill Laimbeer, somebody was hand checking him. He just reached down and almost chopped their arm off at the wrist. Okay? Hard fouls on guys coming to the lane, clothesline, and Bill Laimbeer did it all. Now, I know if you were a Piston, you probably loved that guy, okay, because he was your teammate. You didn't have to worry about it. And it's ironic that at when they started breaking up the team, that him and Isaiah Thomas, who were very good friends at the onset of this thing, actually had a fight in practice where Isaiah swung at him, hit him, and broke his hand. So that tells you the type guy Bill Laimbeer was. Tough guy, you want him on your team, but sports fans and basketball fans hated this guy, and he fully embraced it like all of the bad boys did for the most part. And the number one thing that I took out of this episode of the 30 for 30 on the bad boys was Isaiah Thomas, I think, might have been the best or the second best point guard that I've seen play in the last 30, 35 years of my life of understanding and recognizing the game of basketball, where I was of age to understand what I was watching. Outside of Magic Johnson, which Magic really was an aberration, there really hasn't been anybody before or after Isaiah or Magic Johnson like Magic Johnson, 6'9" point guard that can do everything. There hasn't been anybody like him, so that's why I say he's an aberration. But Isaiah Thomas was the consummate point guard. If they had a picture of the typical point guard in the dictionary, it'd be a picture of Isaiah Thomas. Not that big of a guy, floor general, athletic as hell, distributes the basketball, sets everybody else up, assists, all over the place. That's what Isaiah Thomas did, okay? And I think a lot of people subconsciously don't give him the credit that he deserves, even though he's a Hall of Famer. And I think people do recognize he was a fantastic player, but I even think he should get more credit. And watching this 30 for 30, he was unstoppable. Unstoppable in college, unstoppable in the NBA. I think because he rubbed some people the wrong way is why he doesn't get the credit he deserves. The comments where he followed up Dennis Rodman and talking about Larry Bird and the fact that if he were black, he wouldn't get all that credit, which I do not agree with. Larry Bird was a beast, one of the greatest players of all times. Always respected that guy. But I think because of Isaiah's personality, and a lot of people felt like that he was fake to a degree. I don't know the man personally, but Isaiah Thomas I don't think gets enough credit. All right, that's the Doug Stewart Show. Email your boy Doug at thedougstewartshow.com. You can also text me at 770-847-0536. Pass the word on the show, share it, retweet, tell people, like it, and the biggest thing is to subscribe to the show. You see that little button right down there? Hit subscribe, all right? It's the Doug Stewart Show.